Today I'm here and I'm going to talk about the Celestial Fulcrum, the very rarely seen Circle battle engine. I guess we'll go ahead. We'll start off. We'll talk about its stats. So, like most things in Circle, it is a speed of 5, because everything in Circle is either like speed 5 or speed 6. And since this thing's, you know, great big planetary model, it's probably not going to be the fastest of things. So anyway, it has let's see, it has a strength of 10, although that like really doesn't matter at all. You can't throw it. And not actually even sure if you can push it, and it's something I never really looked into too much. But anyway, it has no mat, because it has no melee attacks. This is part of the reason why I say that the strength is pretty pointless. It does, however, have a rat of 6, which makes its guns, which we'll get into a little later, fairly accurate. And it is a defense 10, pretty reasonable given that it's mostly stationary. It is an armor 18, which is not that bad. Circle doesn't tend to be the highest armor faction, so an 18 armor model is pretty good for us. And it has again, mostly pointless command of 10. So let's look now at some of the abilities that are on its card. Its construct, again, pretty obvious. I mean, it's got these little living dudes hanging around it, but the actual fulcrum itself is just an assemblage of stone parts. It is a gunfighter, very, very useful for a model that doesn't have any, excuse me, any melee attacks and just range attacks. Then it also has a rare ability in this game. It is immune to cold, lightning, and fire. There's only a couple other models in the game that have this. Off the top of my head, I can think of the Black-Clad Wayfarer, the Druids of Orboros when they use their elemental protection ability, and I believe that Belphegor also has immunity to all the elements. So those are the only things I can think of off the top of my head that are immune to all the elements. It's kind of a nice protection. Okay, let's get into the meat of it. What is this thing? What is it good for? What does it do? Well, to answer any of those questions, we first have to talk about what its attacks are. It has three guns. All of its guns are rate of fire 1. And they're all a bit different. So let's see. The first one is called Flame Blast. I wanted to say burst there. That's not right. Flame Burst. It is a range 8 spell. It is, sorry, attack, and it is an AoE 4. It also is it is POW 15, and it is a magical weapon. It is fire typed, and it does it causes the continuous fire effect. All these things be pretty well expected from an attack called Flame Blast. The Flame Blast, though, has a special rule. It's called Smoke. There's a couple other models in the game that have this rule. So the Smoke rule says that the AoE of the weapon remains in play for 1 round as a cloud. Now, things entering the cloud don't take any damage. It's not that kind of effect. It's just a cloud. Its second main attack is called Lightning Bolt. It is a range 12 attack. Again, like I said, all those attacks are rate of fire 1. And this one is a power of 14. It is, again, a magical weapon, because this is, after all, a giant magical construct. All of its weapons are going to be that way. Again, it's lightning. It's a lightning bolt, so it is a lightning-type elemental damage. The lightning bolt has the electroleap effect, which most of you are pretty familiar with. You know, you hit a model with the attack. The nearest model, other than the one that shot, within 4 inches, can take a POW 10 electrical damage roll if you want. Important to note, that is super optional. Don't ever let anyone tell you that the electroleap is not optional. It so is. So if your only choice is to kill one of your own models with an electroleap, just don't make the electroleap. And the last attack is called Winter's Rage. So it's immune to fire, ice, and lightning. And its first 2 attacks were fire and lightning, so what can we guess this third attack is? That's right, it is a lightning elemental attack. It is, again, another magical weapon. And this one is a spray 10 with a power of 12. So that's two spray 10 attacks that Circle has access to. Both of them magical. The Howling the Howling Blast from the Pureblood Warpwolf, and Winter's Rage from this thing. The Winter's Rage attack also has the critical freeze effect, so if you roll a critical hit with the attack, the model hit becomes stationary. And then it has a couple of other rules. It's circular vision. Obviously, it's kind of hard to tell where the front is on a model like this, so circular vision makes perfect sense. It can shoot in any direction, and it doesn't take any back strikes. It also has an ability called Fury Generator. So what this ability does is, basically, at the beginning of every turn, the Celestial Fulcrum will generate 1 Fury automatically. It can have, and it can store up to 3 Fury. Once it gets up to that 3 Fury, it can't get any more. Generating its Fury automatically is the only way for it to gain any Fury, but there is one more special rule that goes with this. Your Warlock can leech the Fury that is on the Celestial Fulcrum as though it were leeching Fury from a War Beast. This is kind of interesting, although typically it's something that's not going to come up very often. I personally have never been in a situation where I've really needed a Fury but couldn't afford to cut myself for it, and sometimes had to take one from the Celestial Fulcrum. And probably I really don't want to do that anyway, because the Fury is the only way that the Celestial Fulcrum has to boost its attacks, and it really wants to be able to boost its attacks, so taking its Fury away from it is probably not the best of ideas. It also has interference, so it's a pretty simple rule. It says this model cannot be placed. It is, weirdly, the only battle engine with this rule. Now, keep in mind that battle engines are a little different than Colossals. Now, Colossals are huge base models, Colossals and Gargantuans are huge base models, just like battle engines are, but battle engines do not have a lot of the same rules. Battle engines can be placed. They may be able to be moved. I'm not entirely sure about that, but I know you can't knock them down or throw them or anything. But you can place them, except for this one, and there is a very, very good reason for that. A circle battle engine that could be placed would easily be teleported by the stones. Even a regular unit of stones could fit around it and teleport it. And since stones teleport within and not completely within 8 inches, you would basically measure from the front of this model's base to where you want the back of its base to go, which effectively gives you a 15-inch movement before it then shoots, which is something they're never ever going to allow Circle to have, because that would give us a whopping, let's see here, on the longest range attack of 12, that would give us a whopping 27 inches of threat range, and they're not going to do that. So interference, that's the thing we got. So those are kind of the basic stats of the model, and excuse me for one moment, I'm going to take a drink before I continue. We're doing a lot of talking today. So that's what the Celestial Fulcrum is. Now, what does it do, and what is it good for? Well, the Celestial Fulcrum is obviously a gun platform. Circle does not really have a lot of gun platforms. Our range game has been improving lately with the addition of the Argus Moonhound, which I'll be talking about in a different model review. But still, we do tend to not be the biggest of shooting armies. We also have basically no boostable guns. We in fact have four boostable guns that I can think of. Well, okay, hold on a second. Let me take that back. We actually have 6 boostable guns that I can think of. One of them is from an Argus and does from the regular Argus and does no damage. The other one is from a Winter Argus and is a POW 12 range 6 spray. We have the Wold Weird's 10-inch POW 10 shot. We have the Wold Watcher's 10-inch POW 12 shot, and we have the Gargantuan, the Wold Wrath's range 14, POW 14, I believe. Sorry, POW 15 shot. And that's about, and then, sorry, we also have the Purebloods 10-inch POW 14 spray. So that's kind of a rundown of our ranged weapons that are boostable. They're okay ranged weapons, but it's definitely not the kind of options that a lot of other factions, especially War Machine factions, tend to have in terms of boostable guns. Most War Machine factions tend to have a few heavies with, you know, at least range 12, range 14 guns that do pretty good damage and are direct hit. and thus, and of course on a War Beast or on a Warjack chassis, so you usually run about 8 to 10 points for something like that. But Circle doesn't really have much in the way of that. And in fact, our only boostable gun on a heavy War Beast is on the Pureblood, and that's only a range 10. So this fills a really nice gap for Circle. It gives us more boostable guns in a platform that, in a package that is very good at delivering those shots and can focus down on one target pretty well. It can also focus on multiple targets at once, and we'll get into that a little bit later. So, as I said, it collects Fury to boost those shots. Typically, you'll want to save those for boosting hits on your, like on your Lightning Bolts or your Winter's Rage to make sure that you can hit those important attacks, or, fish for crits. Alternatively, you can save your Fury for boosting damage on the Flame Blast attack, which is, as I said, it's a POW 15, and a POW 15 boosted damage shot is pretty good. That'll put a nice solid dent in a Warjack. So typically, the way that I use the Celestial Fulcrum is as that gun platform. I'm trying to treat it as mostly an anti-infantry piece for my list. And the reason I do that is because 4-inch AoE can scatter, even if it's only range 8, it can scatter over a good area and clip several models, and POW 15 means that you've got a POW 8 blast damage, and that'll kill a lot of infantry pretty well. That'll kill up to even, that'll kill up to even, say, armor 15 fairly effectively. Well, rather, maybe armor 14. At armor 15, you start getting into the realm of not killing so consistently, but your typical armor 11 to armor 13 infantry will die pretty well to that. For those slightly higher armor infantry, the Lightning Bolt is amazing. It is, of course, the Electro Leap that does it. So it's range 12, and it does the Electro Leap. And the Electro Leap is a POW 10, and the Direct Shot is a POW 14. So you shoot your medium, even higher, slightly higher armor infantry, the POW 14 will take them out, and you can Electro Leap into something that you really like. Maybe something that's stealth nearby that you have trouble getting otherwise, maybe just another model in that unit. Whatever it is. A POW 10 electrical damage roll will kill a lot of infantry models and a lot of solos. Especially if you can... well, you can't boost the Electro Leap, but you can boost the POW 14 direct damage shot, and you can boost blast damage off of a Flame Blast. So there's ways to get around, certain stealth models that like to give you a hard time. Another way to get around those stealth models is to use the Winter's Rage. This is a range 10 spray, which are always amazing. If you can get a nice angle on a range 10 spray, you can clip a whole bunch of units in a model. I personally have used the Pureblood spray and the Winter's Rage spray to clip as many as 6 models in a unit in a single attack. And Rat 6 sprays, especially that large, are pretty rare in this game. Most sprays, especially those size ones, they tend to be Rat 4, Rat 5 at the best. Not too many that are Rat 6. So it's a great way to destroy a lot of infantry models. And, like I said, it's a spray, so it can ignore stealth. So if you have some stealth model that's kind of some stealth solo or something that's giving you kind of a hard time, you can attack it with the Winter's Rage spray and take it out that way. You can boost damage or boost hit as necessary. You can even use this against, say, stealth heavies to try and fish for that crit stationary. Although, fishing for the crit stationary, not always the best option, but sometimes you don't really have a lot of options at any given time. So it's best to take what you can get. So like I said, I like to use it as a gun platform for anti-infantry purposes mainly. That's where I've kind of gotten the most success out of it. In a single turn, I think the most models I've ever had it kill was probably in the range of 8. I landed a Lightning Bolt that took out 2 models. I scattered a Flame Blast in. I took out another, I think it was 3 models with that. And I fired the Winter's Rage and took out the last 3 with that. So it can be pretty effective at killing things. But that's not its only goal, or its only purpose. As I said, these are ranged attacks that are a little more powerful than those that Circle is typically used to. So another good way you can get use out of the Celestial Fulcrum is to have it focus fire onto a heavy and soften it up for you. I have successfully used this to kill a number of things. Legion heavies, of course, they tend to be pretty soft. I haven't actually used it against other Circle players yet, but I have used it against Scorn players, and I took out a Scorn player's Titan Gladiator, that's what it was. Their Titan Gladiator when they weren't expecting it, because I put the 3 shots into it. I had 2 Fury to boost, so I boosted the 2 highest POW ones, and then I put the last shot into it, and I think I actually did land the crit stationary even though that wasn't boosted. I just kind of lucky there, but I didn't really need that. And then I had an infantry unit charge in and finish off the now half-dead Gladiator, and it took him out. When the Scorn player didn't really expect me to be able to. He was trying to give me a choice between that or his bronze back, and instead I just killed both. So it went pretty well. But the thing is, as good as it is at shooting and softening up heavy targets for you, and it's rarely going to kill those heavy targets, and as good as it is at, you know, killing large numbers of infantry, it's probably not going to be able to do that for a particularly long time, because of the fact that it is on a large base, and once it starts doing its thing and disrupting what your opponent's trying to do, your opponent's going to realize that it is a priority target. And unless you're playing, say, Baldur 2, or maybe one of the other casters with an armor buff, but Baldur 2 is the only one I can really see trying to pull this off, Armor 18 is not going to be able to save it. And Armor 20 might be able to cause an opponent to put way too much effort into killing it, and that might save it. But honestly, I'd never really bank on a dedicated attack failing to kill it. Even though it has 20 hitboxes and it starts at Armor 18. Like I said, unless you're Baldur 2 and you can get it up to Armor 21, because Armor 21 is a great breakpoint. It is actually significantly better than just Armor 20. But at Armor 21, kept in the back of a Baldur army, it might actually be able to live for a while. But that is okay, because a really big part of how I tend to use this model, and I think a really good thing that it is for, is it's great for setting up trades. Have it get out toward the front of your army, not be the vanguard, but be somewhere near the front, fire into the enemy, disrupt things, soften up, you know, heavies that you're going to go after, just make a nuisance of itself, and keep a war beast right behind it. Your opponent will invariably charge a bunch of things at it, or throw a heavy war beast or a warjack at it to take it down, and they probably will. And even if they don't, you're probably still in good shape, because if they kill it, then there is now this gaping hole, and your war beast that you've got right behind it can now charge in there and murder whatever just killed your fulcrum. And it's a great way to start the peace trade. You know, they give up something really big to take out something of yours, and you can generally take out their thing in response without actually even having to primal your war beast if you use the fulcrum to soften up the thing that comes to kill it first, which allows you to keep control of your war beast for another round, and your war beast is, you know, already mixed in with your army, so it's probably likely to live another turn. And when circle heavies get the opportunity to kill things and not die right afterward, that is always a plus. If they fail to kill your thing, well, then you're in even better shape. Just have the fulcrum shift to the side, maybe soften up the enemy some more. Remember, it has gunfighter; it can still fire at things it's in melee with, or have it fire at things outside. There's some really cool things you can do there. You can always move the fulcrum so it engages more things. You can have it shoot, and then have it shoot at those things. Or you can line up your spray on whatever you're engaged with so that it'll clip things you're not engaged with. You can shoot something you are engaged with the lightning bolt to try and electroleap into something that you're not engaged with. There's lots of things you can do there. But anyway, if they fail to kill your fulcrum in that situation, just move over, take some shots, do whatever you're going to do that turn, and then kill the war beast, and then you're way ahead because your fulcrum is still alive and your war beast is most likely safe. So that is just, I really love to use it for that. And you know, I really don't think I can give enough praise for what this model is actually capable of doing, and I do feel a little bad that I don't use it more often. But I'll talk about why that is. As good as this model is, as much as I love what it does, and as much as I think that it is one of the more powerful battle engines and is often overlooked, I still think that it's just tricky to fit into the list. And that's the thing. I've played everything in Circle. I've really found nothing in Circle that's just straight bad. But sometimes it's hard to fit things into lists. There's a lot of other things I'd rather take. a lot of other areas I'd like to cover, and the Fulcrum does cost 9 points, which is basically taking up the point cost of a beast. So it can be a little tricky to, say, give up a War Beast to take the Fulcrum, especially since you can't really treat the Fulcrum as a beast equivalent, even though you can leech Fury off of it. You're only ever likely to get as much as 2 Fury off of it at one time, and then when you do that, it can't boost its attacks, and you can't transfer to it anyway, so it does tend to leave you a little beast light. But in exchange for that, you do get a platform that is capable of shooting, which Circle's not really typically great at. Once again, on the subject of shooting, now that I'm thinking of this, if you really want to crank this thing up to 11, take an Argus Moonhound. This thing goes bonkers with an Argus Moonhound. The Argus Moonhound running in and taking away stealth, to land your shots directly on certain things, or just running in and getting near things to give the mark ability. I forget what that's called. Mark the target. There we go. It's amazing. When the Fulcrum becomes Rat 8 and is still capable of boosting, now you're into the realm of being able to consistently take down Warlocks and Warcasters with it. Because being able to boost to 7s, 9s, things like that from your 8 is pretty damn good. And on certain really low defense Warlocks, you may even be able to... low defense Warlocks and Warcasters, you may even be able to chance not boosting at all if you're a Rat 8. Plus, a Rat 8 range 10 spray is just really wrong. You will murder whatever infantry units you fire that into, almost guaranteed. There's very, very few things in this game that can stand up to a Rat 8 POW 12 range 10 spray. So that is the Fulcrum. I think it is a great model. I'm a little disappointed that it's sometimes hard to fit into lists, but nevertheless, I like to give it its chance, and I like to kind of use it both as a supporting platform for shooting, but also be prepared for the fact that it's probably going to get killed thereafter, and use that to my advantage. So it is definitely something that I really like, and I think one of the most beautiful models in the game. Certainly, I think my favorite model in Circle, possibly excepting Una the Falconer, because that is also a just absolutely gorgeous model. So anyway, that is the Celestial Fulcrum, and glad you guys came to listen to my thoughts on it. So I guess I will let you all go for now, and I'll see you again on the next episode.